In this video, I am covering SQL Server Performance Methodology for DBA teams. I noticed throughout the years as a SQL Server DBA that most of the companies don't have a methodology when it comes to SQL Server performance from DBA point of view, not application DBA point of view or developer. Each DBA colleague was using his scripts and his knowledge accumulated over the years to come with a report about the SQL performance from DBA point of view. Some companies were relying on thousands of euros software, which among other features was also a report covering the performance from different perspectives. Although tools are good, I always preferred DBA Touch because each DBA gained over the years specific skill set, which in specific situations is more applicable than other DBA skill set. Ideal, though, is for companies to provide methodology for this activity. By methodology, I am referring to a series of scripts which you can execute that check for things pertinent to how that company deploys their SQL servers, what are Microsoft best practices, and so on. I chose the hierarchical display for those scripts because it allows the users of the applications to understand better. Of course, since we own the GUI, after each script execution I can add logic to set a specific background for the cells in the results sets containing specific value for the specific script. I can also execute sequentially all the scripts I have for which I don't need an input and generate a human-readable summary of what is deviating from what should be in place of values which differs from the expected values. I didn't do that, and some of the scripts are not there because some of that hierarchical information on the left side was provided by ChatGup while other ones were added by me using the scripts I had. I didn't do it because it requires a lot of work even with ChatGup, not to mention that the code needs to be executed against real SQL Server instances in order to create real value. I did execute some scripts and use some of the application features to show how we can consume the output further. If you watch with me up to this point, you could see that some of the script have a comment section in which the DBA can see what values are appropriate and why. That choice is not random. It is there because the DBA, when executing that script or when he wants to know what is normal for disk alignment or temp DB configuration, can remember this hierarchical display and jump directly to the point of interest. Not only that, but he can run the script against instance A followed by instance B and showing requested that DV server, for example, is not configured the same as prod server. Ignore for the time being the application inability to not bind correctly columns containing. You might also wonder why the application is gathering data using TSQL scripts or PowerShell scripts, and the answer is simple. If by any chance the scripts we have cannot be executed remotely and the server is Windows Core, then the interface on top of generating those scripts can have a button saying Build in PowerShell script that will execute and output the result sets in HTML format like I did in one of the previous posts for parsing SQL Server logs. Why I am not moving forward and not implementing what I just said that can be done? I am not doing it because no one wants it. As mentioned in some of my older posts, I participated with this application and automation initiatives. I showcased it in more than 180 videos with real examples on how can improve DBA teams' knowledge, way of work, pride of creating and using something in-house. Okay, sometimes there are some errors like the one you saw when I tried to execute a script that was not really selected. If you really paid attention to the video, you might see that buttons in the toolbar overflow sometimes are not as wide and with different width. This is because the logic I have for sizing those buttons happen in specific places, and when user click the SQL Server Performance node in the tree view, I am creating the scripts without really executing any PF the scripts. Solution is to call the needed code right after I am generating all those scripts related to the SQL Server Performance. As you can see, displaying the execution plan in the graphical way is different than the one I created few years back, which was following SSMS way of displaying it. That way of displaying the execution plan is still incomplete, and if I remember it right, it was working only for single batch and not for multiple batches, not to mention that I was never able to match SSMS way of showing it. Do that make the application less suitable or less valuable? No, it just shows the limits and my power of understanding and how I choose to duplicate the SSMS display. Stubbornness can only bring you to some point. From there, if companies lack talent, they can compensate with other stubborn people which are more capable.